It's our pleasure here at Starkey Media. We're talking bowls. It's time to go down that path. Yes, with President, CEO of the Gator Bowl, the tax slayer Gator Bowl, Greg McGarity. Greg, welcome to the show. I got to be honest with you. How does one become the president and CEO of a bowl game? Because that's my dream job. I want to go around all year wearing the jackets, scouting teams, going to games. I've missed my calling somewhere here.
Well, luckily, I don't have to do any travel as we leave that up to our committee members and our selection committee that basically goes on trips throughout the year. And, really what it's changed so much the landscape because the bowls really don't select anymore. They're really assigned teams in the SEC and the ACC. So our membership likes to get out and introduce themselves to leadership on different campuses. But I've been able to just stay at home, watch TV, and kind of consume football for 14 weekends in a row, and it's been fantastic.
Well, and I read that you're kind of a Georgia guy, so the Bulldogs are gonna be in the playoffs, so you're good there.
Right.
The downside to that is they're so good they rarely wind up there in Jacksonville.
Well, we understand our role and where we are with really 5 other bowls in the Southeastern Conference. You got the college football playoff, and then Orlando gets a pick. And then Tampa, Jacksonville, Nashville, Memphis, Houston, and Las Vegas are in what's called the 6-pack. So if you're in that group of those 7 teams that aren't playing the college football playoff, really the bowls are set up to really help a team get a start on the next football season. So really, you'll see a lot of kids opt out. You'll see a lot of players elect not to play because they're trying to get ready for the next step. And you've got transfers, but we all know where we rank in the bowl structure. And, there's a place, there are 43 bowls now. So you're only getting into a situation where 12 teams are playing in the college football. So bowls still have a very important role to play.
They really do. And I'm a bowl purist. I grew up as a big Mizzou fan. I cover the Missouri Tigers now. So growing up, Missouri's in the Big 8 and the Big 12. Right. So not going to some of these colorful, exotic locations like,
Sure.
the Outback was back then in Tampa or the
Yep.
Gator and some of those. So to be a part of this now has been great. Missouri was in the Cotton Bowl last year. It was great. So a lot of the internet kind of blew up a little bit when this is a really, into the weeds quote here, Greg. Maybe it was you, someone from the committee there of your staff at the Gator Bowl said, "We would love to have Mizzou." That's the quote. "We would love to have Mizzou." And Missouri fans kind of took off and ran with that. So I'm sure the Gator Bowl would love to have Mizzou, a 9-3 team, or any number of teams like, an A&M and Ole Miss if they don't make the playoff of South Carolina. There's a good crop to choose from for you guys.
Yeah, and it really gets down to, I think, once you're in this 6-pack group, proximity probably plays a greater role than the site of the bowl, because during my AD times at the University of Georgia, I was part of that discussion on what these 6 bowls look like, and they're all on equal footing. All the bowls in this group pay about the same amount of money to the conference, and there's really no difference in going to Memphis or Tampa or Jacksonville. Orlando has an edge there, but a lot of this is basically based on proximity and what's the best location for teams to be in a location where their fans can travel, because whether it's A&M or Missouri, nobody's driving. So how many fans really are going to make that trip to Jacksonville? And we've had experience. I know when Texas A&M was in the game back in 21, we were thinking the 12th man would really rally around that, but needless to say, they had difficulty selling 3,000 tickets. So a lot of this is dependent, for bowls to be solvent, they have to draw respectable crowds. So that comes into play, but a lot of this is geared towards, that's why the bowl and these 6-packs are all regionally. You've got 2 in Florida, you've got 2 in Tennessee, you've got 1 at Las Vegas, you've got 1 in Houston. So really, it's just a matter of mixing and matches, and not as much as the bowl site, as much as what makes sense from a travel standpoint and what makes sense from a matchup standpoint to avoid rematches or games that might be played next year.
And that's my favorite part of these bowls is as getting a matchup that is exciting. And,
Mm.
For the SEC to play an ACC team, and the ACC has some very capable programs right there that could be winding up there, a Duke, a Clemson, if they lose their conference championship game, and a Miami. So to be able to look down the road at some of those possibilities are really exciting. But for you guys, when this all comes to be, how much say do television networks have in this process for you guys?
I'm not in the room when those decisions are made, but I would think very little, because all of these games are going to attract significant crowds. Our ratings should be very good this year. We're the only game on college football on January the 2nd, prime time. So regardless of who's in our game, it's the only game on TV that entire day. So on a Thursday night at 7:30. So we're looking forward to great ratings regardless of who we have in the game.
Talk to us about Jacksonville. How long have you lived there? And to people, from here in the Midwest, say that if they come to Florida, they're always going to Disney World, or they're going to Tampa or St. Pete or Fort Myers or somewhere else. Like, sell us a little bit on the city of Jacksonville. I've only been there once myself, and it was for a Chiefs-Jaguars game several years back. So just talk to us about Jacksonville and what it has to offer, and how long have you been there personally?
Well, I've been a part of the Georgia-Florida football game since having worked at both Florida and Georgia since the late 70s, and have been here in the executive director role once I retired from the University of Georgia in January of 21. So this will be my fourth game in the chair. But Jacksonville is so much more than downtown. Both teams stay at the beach. One team stays up in Amelia Island, the ACC team. The SEC team stays at the Marriott Sawgrass. So teams really don't come into Jacksonville downtown until the day of the game. So we don't schedule much. We realize this is sort of a downtime for the teams to where they can rest, relax, and not be stuck on a bus 2 to 3 hours a day driving to some banquet with chicken and banquet bullets. So we try to keep there a lot of time to where kids can just stay in these 5-star resorts and enjoy each other, enjoy their families and things of that nature. But, the weather is usually seasonable at that time. We'll hopefully in the kickoff, we'll be in the high 60s, low 70s during the week of practice. It could be really cold for us. I mean, cold is in the 30s, but with the game being at night, there's no telling what kind of weather you're going to get. But we know that throughout the team's stay, they're going to have a lot of options of really good weather.
Yeah. And I think there is an enticement for Midwestern people to be able to, maybe you can pair that up with a holiday trip. It's New Year's Day, the day before, that you can go down and, hey, we shoot down to Orlando's 2 hours away, or fly in somewhere else. You have a lot of options. And I think that's really exciting. So, if you are University of Georgia guy, that means, our good friend, when it comes to the media, we deal with Claude Felton all the time. And I mean, there's no one better. He's the best in the business. And I rue the day that he ever retires from Georgia. I can't handle the thought of that.
Well, he did retire. And I was, during my times at the University of Georgia as a student, I was his student assistant. And then when I was hired in 1977, I became the assistant sports information director at Claude. So then when I came back to Georgia in 2010, Claude was really like my right hand as far as media relations and everything. But, Claude is a legend. He's a selfless individual, a person that loves the University of Georgia. And they know in Athens, certainly, that they have a treasure and someone that is world renowned and one of the greatest people you'd ever meet in Claude. So he's one of my mentors. And I was just so happy that he entered my life, and we still stay in touch and keep up with each other. So he's doing great and enjoying his life away from all of the dynamics involved in college athletics now.
Wow. I had missed that because I was there last year. Missouri played down there, unfortunately, maybe for the last time in a while. Yeah. And that was the last time I saw Claude's SEC Media Days last year. And so there's something special about the University of Georgia. I've sort of taken it in as my second home. I've made so many friends there and been to a lot of games down there. So it's a special place, Athens is. So your footprint is here right in the SEC, and it's going to be great. So talk to us a little bit, Greg, about some of the challenges for some of these bowl games now, because the college football playoff obviously has expanded to 12, and a lot of the brand name bowl games are part of the semifinal and quarterfinals now. So with the transfer portal, with players opting out, with all these things going on, what are just some of the challenges for a bowl game like the Gator Bowl that's got such a lineage that dates back to the 40s, and playing in an NFL stadium there in Jacksonville, and then yet here we are in this landscape, things have just changed a little bit.
Well, I think it's very, very healthy. I haven't really worried too much about who's not in the game because, let's face it, these games at our level are all focused on the following year. You saw Tennessee. Nico was able to start his bowl game in Orlando last year. You saw the LSU quarterback who hadn't played all year. He started his bowl game. They get a head start on next year. And I think this offers an opportunity for a lot of players that may not have played much during the year for coaches to have tape and be able to evaluate. You get 15 extra practice days, and you have a nice bowl trip. Everyone's, except Memphis, is playing in an NFL stadium. I think that matters. But I think this is all geared towards preparing you for the next year. I'd rather have a second or third stringer that hadn't played much as opposed to a starter that may be thinking about his future. And I don't know what kind of effort you get out of those guys. I know a lot of them would be wanting to play with their teammates and get everything they had. I wish that was more prevalent, but I think you see more people opting out and choosing not to play what may be their last chance with a group of kids. So, if you're a transfer in and you've just been at an institution for 1 year to maybe prove yourself in the NFL, I'm not so sure where your loyalty is. It may just be I'm here 1 year as opposed to a person that's been there 4 years and come through the program. In essence, you want people that want to be here and play in the game, and that's what we're focused on. So I don't even worry about who's not in the game because, again, it's not really so much about this year's team. The majority of teams, other teams you see, there's seniors that want to play or, would Brady Cook play in the game? I'm not sure, but if he didn't play, certainly whoever the backup quarterback is getting a jump start on next year. So that's why I don't worry about it too much. And certainly you can't, it's out of your control. So why worry about something you can't control?
Greg, what has your evaluations of Missouri been as you're looking at this? Because, last year, an 11-win season, a Cotton Bowl championship, a win over Ohio State, and then this year 9-3. And maybe Missouri's a college football playoff team if they hold off South Carolina there in the final seconds. It's kind of how this is. This is what's great about the playoff, though, is that teams get to be disappointed about not making it because there are so many more teams on the cusp. So what's been your evaluations of Eli Drinkwitz's program? And just as you're looking at this, Missouri's never played in the Gator Bowl before. It seems like it could be a good match, possibly.
Yeah, this year, their 5 wins in the conference have been, not the strongest. They drew the lucky card this year on who they're playing. So you've got 3 6-6 teams, and you've got Auburn and Mississippi State, and then the teams that are ranked, A&M, Alabama, South Carolina. 2 of those weren't competitive, and 1 was. So, that's probably why they're not ranked higher, is their strength of schedule and their inability to really be competitive in those 2 games. It's a small sample. It's nothing that Missouri is at fault or anyone. It's just the rub of the green. Texas dodged a lot of those teams too this year, but they were able to navigate those except for 1 game. And I also think it's who you schedule out of conference. And I know Boston College was one of the non-conference opponents. They had a winning record at the ACC this year, and so I think they've had a really good year. There's no critique there. It's just when you look at the opponents and things of that nature. Certain things kick in, and I think that's the only reason they're not ranked any higher than they are in the college football playoff.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. Some Missouri fans would say disappointing. Some say, hey, this is kind of the landscape here. So we'll see how things shake out. Greg, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time here and just kind of going through the weeds on some of this stuff. I find it fascinating. I love bowl games. I'm a purist, and just maybe we'll see you here in a couple weeks. We'll see what happens.
Never know. Okay,
you never know.
Clint.
Best of
Thank
luck to selection
buddy.
process, and I can't wait for it. Thanks a lot.
Take care now. See you later.